Hello, School Transportation Nation. Welcome back. I'm Tony Corpin, publisher and president of School Transportation News. And this episode is brought to you by Transfinder, the leader in school bus routing software. And we have an exciting thought leadership conversation coming up in a little bit about fleet optimization, bell time changes, and routing with Antonio Civitella, president and CEO of Transfinder. We also have a special guest this week, Tim Farquer, superintendent of Williamsfield Schools in Illinois. They are doing a lot around V2G. So I know everybody's really interested in electric school buses this day. So we want to talk to Tim and kind of get the lowdown on what he's doing, how he's generating revenue for his district. It's really exciting stuff. And also, we have Miss Taylor Hannon, the associate editor here at STN. She's going to hook us up with a really great news update. Taylor, take it away.
Thanks, Tony. It's great to be back here for another week. This is Taylor Hannon, and I'm here with your weekly update. But before I jump into the news side of things, there are some exciting things happening here at STN. The editorial team has finished reaching out to all of our 2021 Garage Stars. Very exciting. I am looking forward to announcing those finalists in the August issue. We had over 140 nominations this year, which is outstanding. So it was certainly a challenge picking out 10, but I do want to thank everyone who nominated someone, and I am really looking forward to the August issue coming out. We are also currently looking for rising superstars for our October issue. So if you know of an up-and-coming transportation leader, maybe they are new to the industry, or perhaps they've been around a while but have flown under the radar. It could be someone in your organization or someone who you work with in the industry who you feel is deserving. Please nominate them. And to nominate them, you would go to stnonline.com/go/RS. And that nomination form will be up for a couple more weeks here. So definitely take advantage of that and give someone some much deserved recognition. In other good news for us here in California, we are finally shedding the mask this week. Californians who are fully vaccinated are able to remove their face masks in most situations, and that's certainly been the theme around the country as more people get vaccinated. Some states still do have a mask mandate in place, but I'm curious to see how that will change over the coming months, especially during the summer, and if states reach that 70% vaccination rate. But it's certainly great to be open here in California and be able to go out and do things, to eat dinner at a restaurant. It's nice. In other news, we have a special report up at stnonline.com that talks about the disruptions in the supply chain. So student transportation is just one of the sectors being affected by this, but speaking in terms of the industry, we first saw the supply chain disruption with the dip in the production of foam for school bus seats and increased fuel costs. And of course, this wasn't just due to COVID-19. Yes, that played a huge part of it, but add in severe winter storms across the South that immobilized production and transportation of parts and raw materials, plus 2 fires at the world's largest semiconductor manufacturers that impacted the production of microchips. So there was certainly a lot going on that influenced this. And to read more about this topic and what strategies or recovery plans manufacturers have in place, definitely check out this online article. And my last topic I want to touch on before I turn this back to you, Tony, is the sunsetting of 3G. We have been talking about this a lot, and we have an article on it in the June issue, as well as another one coming out with the July issue. But if you're not thinking about this already, this is something you should be thinking about. AT&T has already announced they will be phasing out 3G technology by February of 2022, and that's going to be here faster than we all think. Verizon pushed theirs back to December 31st of 2022, but still, time is certainly ticking and running out. And I was talking with one transportation director in Washington, and he shared that his concern right now is if upgraded 4 or 5G technology will seamlessly integrate with his existing systems. So if that is something you're curious about, definitely reach out to your vendors and start seeing what the price tag is to upgrade technology and see if it will integrate with what other programs you're running. Lots of things to consider here, and check out the articles in the magazine on how 5G is paving the way for better connectivity. Back to you, Tony.
Hey, Taylor, thanks so much for that update. Really insightful stuff. Lots going on out there in the school transportation industry. It's really great. All right, without further ado, you guys are probably thinking all about summer school, preparing for the new school year, 21-22. I sure hope it looks different than 2021, right? Everybody's hoping it's going to be a little bit different. The kids are coming back. I have a feeling everything's going to be back to normal, whatever that means these days, right? But, you guys need to be thinking about technology. It's a huge aspect of your transportation department. And when you're talking about fleet optimization, bell time changes, routing, you know what? That's a big conversation. And I thought that I would do a thought leadership segment of the podcast this week. And we're bringing on Antonio Civitella, president and CEO of Transfinder, to share his thoughts on these big ideas. Tony, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a while since you've been on. There's been a lot going on in the industry. I feel like, a month passes and there's a ton of changes, COVID changes, school changes, announcements everywhere. The summer season for some state trade shows is starting to pop up. I know we're going to see you speaking down at the TAPT conference down in Texas and Houston at the end of June. I think you're sharing your thoughts on some routing and things like that going on. And, I just want to dive a little deeper into some of these kind of trends we're seeing in the market, right? So I want to start off talking about summer school. We are hearing so much about kind of increased enrollment, some new challenges, having to staff up more than in the past. What are you seeing over at Transfinder with your clients? You have thousands of clients, so you got to have some really great benchmarks of what you're seeing out there.
Well, Tony, we do have thousands, and we're really grateful. We want to shout out to all Transfinder clients and also the ones that are not clients yet. So hello to all of you out there. Tony, we are definitely getting so much feedback from our clients now about summer routes and really summer schools that they're building a lot. Parents really want their students to have extra help. Let's face it, even my wife and I are thinking about all the different activities we want to get our son involved because we want to make sure did he get enough education? Is he prepared for the next grade? And I think all parents are worried, and of course they're pressuring our clients saying, hey, we want more opportunities to send our kids to summer schools. So there's a massive increase. We actually have a client of ours said that the summer school enrollment is actually doubled than other years. So it's like, holy cow. So they're getting really prepared. So they're worried, of course, do they have enough staff? Are they building the routes correctly? Of course, we helped all our clients last year to do the hybrid routes, the AB combinations and so forth, which completely overwhelmed our clients. But, they're amazing. They're able to figure it out and they're able to do it. So they're concerned that are they going to get overwhelmed again, not just the summer routes, but the fall routes because things are going to change all over again. And, they're really worried about are we giving ourselves enough time for all those last minute changes. Those last minute changes always happened, pre-COVID, but our clients are worried about, we don't know what to expect because last year they thought they had it all figured out, Tony. And then a few weeks before school opened, things changed again. And then it changed again after school opened. So they're worried about, we better give ourselves enough time for those type of changes because last year we all got overwhelmed, even though they got it done. So they're prepared. Our clients are they're ready to make tons of changes. They're worried about their fall routes though, because they want to go back to normal. The routes are going to be somewhat normal, which means are the kids going to come back? The same kids going to ride the bus? Are there going to be more kids riding the bus than they were 2 years ago? So they're thinking about all the different what if scenarios, almost like as if it was last summer. Think about what we talked about a year ago, Tony, about all those things our clients are thinking about. So yeah, a lot's going on. We're excited. We are here. We have our new product that was released over 16 months ago. And it's helping now hundreds of our clients. We're probably near 30% of our clients have moved to that new product. So a lot going on for sure.
So let's talk about some things that happened during the COVID, which was kind of this instituting of seating charts, right? So we heard last week from an assistant director of transportation, Mr. Anthony Shields down in Hayes Consolidated ISD. And he said, yeah, we were running 24 kids on a bus. Well, now we're running 48 kids on a bus, right? We're anticipating higher kind of ridership going into the summer school timeframe and in the new school year. How do you see the whole attendance kind of going through that side of things and seating charts? How do you see the software and your clients utilizing some of these things that we think are going to carry through to the new school year?
Well, I could give you one point. We're seeing significant amount of RFPs coming out specifically for that, for attendance. So clearly, clients at this point realize that there's a need, and they're going out there and trying to find technology. And obviously, we've responded at this point probably near record amount of RFPs compared to other years. So yeah, our clients are looking for a way to keep taking attendance. And by the way, this is just really half the story. I got to tell you, attendance is great. And of course, it's accountability to make sure the drivers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, everything. But that's just, I think it's only half the story. The other half is about communicating with parents. It's what's the student schedule? And I think parents are, let's face it, we've been communicating like crazy with parents. Well, we can't stop. And it's important that we let our clients know you can't slow down the communication. So it's even more important to communicate with parents. And we have a product called Starfinder. It does so much. It tracks when the bus is coming near your house, when the student actually uses our RFID card to take attendance. They're also communicate with parents. So not only what the schedule is and if there's a change, but also just survey. So we've actually baked in so much functionality in that new product that for all of you out there interested in joining us on a webinar, it's on June 22nd at 1 p.m. And I'm sure you're going to probably see some emails coming your way, but there's so much about that. We think the operation is only half the story, Tony. The other half is let the parents, keep them informed. You got to communicate with them. Let's face it, the world has been communicating nonstop. You can't slow down the communication. It's continuous, nonstop communicating with parents. So I think that's really our story. Don't just think about your operation. It's the other half.
Yeah, I think parents these days, and I'm guilty of it, I'm technology dependent, right? Like I'm ordering my groceries on my phone, I'm ordering things, you order a pizza, everything is kind of from your mobile device in a very mobile world these days. So I think the pandemic only accelerated adoption of this sort of situation. So we're really faced with kind of this new normal of technology adoption, and how can we as an industry support the parents and then get that communication back to the kids, right? And share like, hey, the bus is going to pick you up at this time. Now, I think the next element of this is the dollars and cents, right? So routing and efficiency and maximizing your routes and your pickups. I mean, people have gotten a lot more comfortable with smaller enrollment. But now if enrollment's coming back at the full levels, if not more, because you've had this loss of learning, how does the district take that on? How do they kind of reacclimate themselves to how it was in the past? Because I feel like we're kind of like trying to get back up to speed is sometimes hard. It's like not being in the gym for a while. Then all of a sudden you're trying to bench press 100,000 pounds. You're like, oh my God, how do I do this? I'm out of shape. So like, how do you suggest getting the industry back in shape for all this kind of heavy lifting that's going to start coming their way?
I love the 100,000 pounds bench. Maybe you start a little bit. I mean, I think you start smaller, right? I mean, how do you solve big problems? You solve small pieces at a time. That's how you solve big problems. And we've seen it with our own client base. We know that there's a handful of clients that just are using our products nonstop every single day. Then we have some clients that only use it during the summer, and then there's the one in between. Well, guess what? We saw this year that everyone that was maybe, was only using it during the summertime and just maybe, if they had to, the increase of usage went skyrocket. Why do we know that? It's because we started getting these phone calls saying, hey, I don't know how to do this. Do you guys offer these courses? So we increased so many online courses for our existing clients because they're like, I need to learn this. I'm guilty. I really wasn't using it as much in the past, but I really need to know. So we're excited about with those group of clients that now they have a certain expectation. So now as we're talking to new opportunity, new clients, we let them know right away, listen, we know you need this product. Use it on a daily basis. Don't let that happen. Like you just talked about, bench pressing. Go to the gym maybe once a week instead of, just forget going there. So I think it's really part of what we're doing is educating the market that's saying that a routing software, we do so much with the optimization. Yes, how can you really do your what if analysis without products like ours? But also, you got to use it. You can't just use it once and then, great, now I have my fall routes done and hopefully I'll remember how this works next year. And that's really something that's changed. I could see in our own clients, they're now using it all the time. And obviously that's something that it's completely, our calls are skyrocketing for the ones that use it all the time. They're calling the same amount, but the ones that didn't call us before, now they're saying, I need your help. And so we could just see it, which is we're educating our clients, but there's an expectation. I have a routing software. Now I need it at this moment. And this is what's exciting. We're getting also record amount of new clients coming on board with us saying, I've waited all these years. I didn't buy it in 2004. I didn't buy it in 2005. In 2021 now, I'm ready. And I can't, now that they have it, Tony, they're telling us, I can't believe I did my job without these type of products. So it's changed. Technology is wildly adapted at this point.
Wonderful. Well, Tony, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me today and sharing a little bit of your thought leadership with us and a little bit with what's going on out there with Transfinder. Really appreciate you being here, and thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you. Have a good summer, everybody.
All right, next up, we'll be hearing from Tim Farquer from Williamsfield Schools in Illinois. I want to welcome our next guest, Tim Farquer. He's the superintendent at Williamsfield Schools in Illinois, and he is a huge proponent of electrifying his school transportation fleet. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So, we came across your name. You were nominated at our recent Green Bus Summit for being like the ultimate green fleet, right? Like making big investments, doing some big things around this. And you want to kind of tell us a little bit about Williamsfield Schools, how many students you transport, how many school buses you have, and maybe you can unpack the idea of, where you've made alternative energy investments now and kind of where you're headed.
Yeah, no, Williamsfield Schools is a small rural district located in central Illinois. As compared to other rural districts, we're relatively small in square miles. We have a relatively small fleet. We have about 300 students pre-K through 12, one building. The approach that we've taken to electrification is not just including ourselves, but trying to really spur a little bit of a movement in our area. So in our quest for electrification, we've worked with other school districts in our area to form the Bus to Grid initiative. And we've been fortunate. Our work with that initiative has been able to secure 2 electric school buses, and one of them being a true V2G Bluebird school bus with a Nuvi charger in Pekin, Illinois. So as far as Williamsfield Schools right now, we do not have an electric school bus as part of our fleet, but we are continuing to turn over rocks and form partnerships and maintain conversations that will get us there sooner rather than later.
And how many school buses are you running now within the fleet?
Our fleet as an individual district, we run 5 full-size buses, 5 routes daily.
And that transports how many kids?
It's about 180 to 200 kids that ride our routes each day. It's about 2/3 of our population ride routes, and the other third get themselves to and from school, either by car or by bike or by foot.
That's all right. Yeah. And we do find with rural districts, especially when you're talking about square miles, that I'm guessing your time on bus is longer than kind of in a metro environment. How long does a child typically spend on the school bus?
We're pretty lucky because we have 5 routes and a small number of kids. The longest of kids on a school bus right now is about 45 minutes for us.
Okay.
In some of our partners in the more urbanized areas, they're riding buses a little bit longer than that, time-wise, but they're a lot less miles traveled, of course.
Maybe they got that Chicago traffic. You guys don't have that out where you guys are at.
Right. Well, and we've got neighbors and friends of ours that they're big enough that they have to run double routes every morning, so the kids' time on the bus might not be that much longer than ours, but they might be sitting in the hallway of the school building for a half hour, 45 minutes before school starts.
Sure. Have you, coming out of the pandemic here, I assume you're probably looking at being back to normal in the 21-22 school year. And what things are you seeing kind of transfer from the pandemic era to now into this new school year, cleaning, sanitizing, Wi-Fi on the bus, contact tracing? I mean, there's a lot of things. What have you guys implemented and what do you feel like you're going to keep kind of in place?
Yeah, sanitation is the big one. I think a lot of those protocols will remain in place. That's extremely significant. And it has accelerated our quest for kids to have online access wherever they are. So we are continuing to pursue additional options to make sure kids are connected when they're on the bus to and from school or to and from events each day.
Have you considered newer products like air purification? I know that's been a big topic of conversation within school facilities, and then kind of the school bus as an extension of the classroom. We're seeing a lot more companies enter the market, and, ARP money being eligible for reimbursement for air purification. Is that something you guys are considering or have instituted out there?
Considering, absolutely. The main thing that we're trying to do to purify the air on the buses is get rid of the diesel engine. We electrify the fleet. We don't need to buy any third-party products to clean the air that's on the bus, per se.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to diesel particulate and things like that, I know personally, I'm always of the opinion that, do we even know what the baseline air quality is inside the school bus, right? And it varies probably from newer buses to older buses, and I think the injection of this new technology is more to mitigate health and airborne viruses and stuff we basically can't see. So, out of sight, out of mind. So I think there's kind of the ongoing debate out there with investing in some of these things, because it's like, where does student health play into this? But it's also kind of, schools are being reimbursed based on student population. So less kids out sick equals more reimbursement for the school. So that's a good thing too, right? Because we're trying to increase ridership.
Yeah. The
loss of learning that was occurred from the pandemic. So it's a very interesting conversation that's happening out there.
Yeah, very much so. I think air purification on buses it has to be forefront in any approach that we're taking to student health moving forward.
And you talked a little bit more about your V2G program. What kind of drove that? Were you able to get funding? What were kind of the steps, grants, things like that? Kind of share with the audience, because, I think everybody is drinking from a fire hose, trying to understand the promise of V2G. Like, is the promise actually living up to the actual result in the end? So, or are you thinking, we need a little more time to unpack this and really get deeper into it?
Yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes on our introduction to it to start with. We've been looking to electrify for the last few years. Our quest to electrify kind of started with the first release of Volkswagen settlement funding in Illinois. And we've been trying to find ways to electrify from that point. Fast forward to November 2019, there was an RFP released. There's an Edwards coal-fired power plant, which is just on the south side of Peoria, probably about 35 miles away from our campus, that had a significant amount of EPA air pollution violations that resulted in a significant settlement that resulted in a few $1 million to be distributed throughout the community to serve the area that suffered the damages from the pollution. We developed the Bus to Grid initiative around that RFP in a quest to help school districts around the Edwards power plant electrify their fleets. When we did our initial research for that application, it became very clear that, for us living where we live in a rural area about 35 miles away from that smokestack and from the nearest urbanized area, if we were to electrify, we're still pulling our electricity at that point from the Edwards power plant or the Powerton coal-fired power plant right across the Illinois River from that. So for us to just strictly electrify, we're going to purchase energy to fuel our buses from coal-fired power plants, and we're just going to move the pollution from our community to somebody else. And that didn't sit well with us. Therefore, we did a little bit more research and found the V2G capabilities of an electric school bus, very, very enticing, because simultaneously we were putting in a solar array just north of our bus barn. So the concept that started to become a little bit of a reality was utilizing energy generated from the sun to power our bus batteries. So not only would we be cleaning the air for our kids, we wouldn't be causing pollution, in other areas to charge our buses. Simultaneously, all of that research and realization kind of came to fruition when I got connected with the V2G charger company, Nuvi, out of San Diego, and started in some conversations with them and started studying what they were doing with school buses and medium-sized fleets, across the pond and elsewhere. And quickly came to the realization that straight electrification of school buses just misses the mark. It misses an opportunity for us to really expand our ability to produce green energy and really transform a school bus from an asset that we use to transport kids to an energy asset that we can generate revenue from by supporting the grid during peak demand. We can generate revenue from, or even just provide services in emergency situations when there are power outages. So just to summarize, our response to that RFP led us to the conclusion that V2G is the way to electrify. It gives us the most societal benefit, the best gains, not just short term, but as we look to the future.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure President Biden's American Jobs Plan, as well as the recent Clean Commute for Kids Act, has got your interest, considering that's going to potentially provide, $45 billion over the next 8 to 10 years, which I think will be a real, boom for the school bus industry in terms of moving into the EV space. So we'll see how much of that passes. I know I'm not sure I expect all of it, but, 20 billion, that's more than the school bus industry has seen. So it would be just unprecedented to get that kind of potential funding. And I'm sure that gets you excited about those opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. Because the bottleneck for adoption right now is the upfront costs. If we can get, just 12 to 24 months of, government subsidies, so to speak, for this initial wave of electrification, I really believe that the market is going to drive the initial purchase costs of the buses and chargers down. But I also believe that the market for V2G revenue is going to mature. So school districts will have opportunities to buy these electric school buses and V2G chargers at a better price 2 years from now. And they will have the real opportunity to generate the V2G revenue when the buses are not in motion. So yeah, that does have me very excited. Just a little bit of infusion of money can really transform the school bus and our ability to produce and store green energy in ways that everyone will benefit from.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, when you're looking at kind of your battery capacities and you're also considering future technological investments and advancements, what are you considering in terms of the range? Because a lot of people look at it as like, hey, what's my range today versus maybe what I'm going to need into the future? How are you considering what you purchase and what are those considerations that you had to make when you were going to put those order in? It looks like you purchased some Bluebirds. So
No, yeah, there's a lot of factors that go in. We've been very fortunate. Bluebird, IC Bus, Lion Electric, Thomas have all been very great to work with and very transparent on the information and the differences with each of their different makes and models of electric buses. But battery size, which translates into range, right? Battery size is something that we're strongly considering, because not only does a larger battery give you more range, it gives you an opportunity to generate more V2G revenue, right? If you have more energy storage. So for example, I'll take the largest storage opportunity on the market right now is being advertised by IC Bus. They're advertising a 315 kilowatt hour battery option. So that not only gives you potential range of 210 miles, that gives you an opportunity to generate, twice as much revenue as a electric school bus that might have a 155 kilowatt hour battery pack. So those, yes, that's battery size and range, and the few other options that vary from bus to bus are very significant and extremely worthwhile in considering. What I think that folks would be surprised about, though, is outside of the different battery pack options that they have, I mean, these buses are extremely similar, not much different than when you compare a diesel bus to a diesel bus to a diesel bus. There are some variations, but the similarities are overwhelming. For example, Bluebird, IC Bus, Lion Electric, I mean, they're all using a very similar drivetrain. It's a Dana drivetrain, and I know that the Cummins folks that work with Bluebird put their twist to that, but the guts are relatively the same. Thomas now is a little bit of an outlier where they use a Proterra drivetrain with a 2-speed transmission and Proterra bus batteries. But for the most part, these buses are, all have qualities similar to the shopping for these is not much different than comparing diesel models.
It's very interesting. Very insightful comments. Thank you so much for joining us. I greatly appreciate it.
No, I for whatever reason, I can talk about electric buses for much longer than my wife would really prefer.
Hey, that's all right. You got a passion for it, Tim. So we appreciate you being on, sharing with our audience. The School Transportation Nation is gleaning great info from you. So I think, we got big changes ahead, and there's a lot happening in the school bus industry, and we're really excited to have you here and be able to impart some knowledge on everybody with what your experience is, so everybody can kind of make very informed decisions on how they want to proceed with EV.
No, we appreciate everything you do, Tony, in helping keep the lines of communication open. And if there's anything I could close on today, it's, in a lot of territories, if folks will do take a little bit of time to study, there are opportunities for V2G revenue in a lot of these territories right now. So in a lot of places, there's no need to wait.
Wonderful. Well, if you guys want more information on this, we also have the STN Fall Conferences coming up. We have STN Expo Indianapolis. That is October 1st through the 5th. That is quite close to where Tim is at in Illinois. Just a quick drive over. And then we also have STN Expo in Reno, Nevada, December 4th through the 9th. You guys can check out more information at stnexpo.com. Tim, you are totally invited to come to either or both. Please be our guest. We'd love to have you, and you can see all the new technology and toys and all the new EV excitement. There's definitely a lot happening. So lots of suppliers, lots of new tech.
Oh, sounds good. We appreciate you putting them together.
Hey, special thanks to Tim and Antonio Civitella for joining us on the podcast today. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Transfinder for being our episode sponsor. We appreciate you listeners. Don't forget, subscribe, stream, review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, stnpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also visit stnonline.com for all the latest and greatest news and information about the school transportation industry. And don't forget, STN Expo, TSD Conference. Learn more at stnexpo.com as well as tsdconference.com. Nation, we love you. We'll see you next week.